Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a couple weeks this time since we've last talked. Took a little break last week to make sure we had some fresh content to talk about, and the NBA has blessed us with the NBA Cup ending, and we also got some most improved players to talk about. How has your little hiatus break been in the NBA world?
It's been good. So as a Raptors fan, it's they've been playing a lot better. They've been winning a lot of games. They're looking really good. Um as a Raptors fan who wanted to see them get a great draft pick, I'm really happy that these guys are developing.
That's what you want from a young team, and just seeing the development happen,
Yeah.
have close games.
But that draft pick might not come. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're looking more like a play-in team than a lottery team.
yeah. The way that the East is shaped out is just how poor it's been. It's just like Indiana right now is 9-14, right, just barely ahead of the Raptors right now. So that being the case, does not help the Raptors get a better lottery pick at the moment.
No.
Which is all right. Winning is good. Building good habits is always a good thing too. It's many ways to build your team, as Masai likes to do. So, ain't the worst. It's not the worst. But yeah, I think what we like I said at the start, we have lots of stuff to talk about still. We got the NBA Cup has concluded its group stage, so we could talk about how that ended and how the knockout rounds look. I guess we could start there. The NBA Cup. What were your thoughts of the stage games? How'd you find those? Any surprises for any of the teams that made it out?
So I was surprised that Indiana didn't win a single game in the NBA Cup this year.
Finalists last year.
Yeah, so it shows us that the NBA Cup is always going to be a little bit of a wild card every year, which is going to be fun. It just makes the cup that much better. Boston,
Yeah, Lakers as well not making it, right? So we're getting a new champion this year, that's for sure.
Yep. Boston didn't make it in, which is crazy because they're just like that good of a team, but they just happen to not be great on cup nights when the other team brought it and a little bit more. Because that was the coolest thing. Like the guys got up for these games.
Yeah, they did.
They made them fun, right? And then there's something about having the tiebreaker be the total points where the guys just they keep playing deep into the game, running up the score, doing everything they're not supposed to do. It's it's probably like being a little kid and getting up to stay up past bedtime. You're like, I'm breaking the rules.
Yeah, I get to score a little more.
This. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was good. I like it from that perspective too. And I guess I guess the thing to note about the cup, the Pacers have had a pretty rough start to the season, so I think it's just indicative of where they're at. Which I think is what this NBA Cup has been good for, just letting us know where certain teams are at in this stage in the season, in this early stage in the season. As we see as the teams that did move on from the stage, from the group stage, OKC, Mavs, Houston, and Warriors in the West, and Bucks, Magic, Knicks, and the Hawks in the East. Hawks probably being our biggest surprise, as they were in a group with, as you mentioned, the Boston Celtics, but also the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have experienced 2 of their 3 losses to the Atlanta Hawks, which is just crazy stuff going on over there.
Yeah, that's wild. Hawks will be the darling. They'll be the Indiana Pacers this year, if you will. Yeah. Well, go Hawks now. They're giant killers. They got to take down the Knicks to do this and keep going. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm all in for the Hawks in this now. I've talked myself.
Yeah.
You didn't take long.
The Hawks coming out of the East.
I like Hawks coming out of the whole thing, baby. Let's go.
Ooh, Hawks for the win.
Hawks for the win.
I think we could say on that the Pacers and the Hawks thing, like not I'm just looking at both of those teams and comparing them at this stage in the season as we were last year. Pacers were obviously looking like an offensive dynamite at this point. Like they're just running score against everybody last year. And Hawks are kind of taking that position now with Trey Lee and the forces there, and you have their two wing guys with not Dyson Dan. Dyson Daniels on the defensive end has been providing a lot, and pitching in on the offensive end where he needs to, kind of like a Derek White light type player.
Yeah.
But with Jalen Johnson and Zakari Rashashe, one day I'll get that perfect. I think that was better. um, but yeah, with those two guys heading the wings, I think like as I've noted earlier, like moving forward into future years, that wing duo can be something that can wreak havoc. And I guess we've seen it in this group stage, what that potential could kind of look like going against the two Jays or going against Donovan Mitchell and Garland. Like just seeing how they match up against those type of teams has been nice to see. And I wonder, could they have a similar run, not only NBA Cup wise, but playoffs wise as the Pacers did? Maybe they could sneak into a playoff spot this year a little ahead of schedule than what one may have thought.
I think absolutely they can. They'll have the same issue that the Pacers had, and that like those old Suns teams had. When you're so built on offense, you do get slowed down in the playoffs, and you come to a bit of a roadblock. So we'll see how far Atlanta can get. I don't think they're like a championship contender now. They might have fun in this cup because it's something else, but as far as the NBA championship, I don't think they'll go too far, but it'll be good to see them back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to see, Trey in that environment again. He had some fun battles with the Knicks and with the Sixers, so that'll be good for them. And I think for the young guys, I think they kind of need that. And I think they should be pushing for that. And if there's a move to be made to kind of propel them to be more of a into that top 6, or maybe more solidify their spot in the top 8, I think that's something that they should definitely go for. Now they're going to be against the Knicks in that first round, so are you feeling pretty strong? You feeling pretty confident with that?
I talked myself into the thought that the Atlanta Hawks are giant killers, having taken down Boston and Cleveland already, that they should be able to somehow beat the Knicks. And then I assume it'll be Milwaukee who will come out of the other side, and they'll somehow beat Milwaukee, and they'll then somehow beat we'll go with Oklahoma.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think that first round matchup is interesting, especially on a one-off. With them playing the Knicks. The Knicks right now have in the last 2 weeks have had the second best offense in the NBA. On the season, they have the best offense. The defense has been an issue, but in the last few weeks, they've cleaned that side up. It's been looking much better. 13th in the NBA in the last 2 weeks is where you want. If your offense is going to be top like 2, then a defense in the top 10 to 13, I think range will do you just fine for now. Again, come playoff time, that might be more of an issue, but I think for these purposes, I think it's good. And you're playing a team in Atlanta that's also just a juggernaut on offense, so I want those two, that matchup in particular, I think can be very, very interesting, and maybe high octane offense we might get to see. I think I like the Knicks though coming out of that one, just because I feel they just have slightly more discipline with Cat and with Jalen Brunson and with OG. They have slightly better defense, or a defense that I can trust a little bit more than Atlanta. So I think I'm gonna pick the Knicks that can make it out of that first round. But
I mean, that's a safe pick if you want
it is a safe pick.
Way.
I went crazy with the Hawks with them coming out of the group. I think that's where I could take it with them. But I would not be shocked if the Hawks have a crazy game and they're able to dethrone the Knicks in that first round.
Yeah, not at all. It'll be fun. Like everything about the cup so far has been pretty fun. Who is this? Whose prediction is this?
So this is my bracket.
This is your bracket?
This is my bracket on the screen right now. So yeah, you can see I picked the Knicks to make it out of there. And then for the the other side of the Eastern Conference, I have the Magic being the Bucks, which is a bit of a jump for me because the Bucks have been good. They have been really good. I think
They've been very good. Yeah.
they've won about, how many in a row has it been now? 7 in a row, 9-1 in their last 10. So they've looked more of the Bucks that we've come to know them to be. But there's still something that I still have a little bit of doubt in their system and what they can bring on any game, since it's a 1-game elimination. If this is a 5-game best of 7 series, then yeah, I think I'm going Bucks easily. But since it's a 1-game situation, and the Magic have been playing well too, like they just came off of one of their like 6-game winning streaks as well, with France playing out of this mind and Suggs leading the charge on the defensive end. So I think they're up against a really tough team that takes these games very seriously and is very physical, likes to bump people around, likes to get into it on the defensive end. And I think that type of team can maybe frustrate a Giannis, a Dame, and might be able to just squeak it out in a 1-game setting.
Yeah, it's fair. And that's like, when I thought about it, I thought for a lot of those same reasons, that's why I went with Milwaukee. That you can kind of count on like a Giannis or a Dame to go crazy and just kind of steal a win, right? And so I think that's a really good matchup. It would be better if Paolo was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I just I really like what I'm seeing from the Bucks lately.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think in these 1-game settings, you just need a Dame to catch fire, or Giannis to continue to play at the level that he's playing right now, which has been best in the league, top 2 in the league. He's back to that level, on both ends of the court. So I think when Giannis is playing at this level, then they're a threat to win any game at any moment. Yeah, and then moving on to the West, the first round over there, we got Thunder versus the Mavs, which I believe is a rematch of the conference finals last year.
Conference finals, yes.
Yeah, yes. So, seeing how those two teams have developed from the off season and coming into this season, they'll have a new look with the Thunder with Hartenstein there that they didn't have last year, but they did lose Chet. But still, with all that being said, they are putting on one of the best defenses we've ever seen in NBA history currently. Relative to other NBA seasons, they're right up there with like the 04 Spurs, the 60s Celtics. They're right in the top 5 there, like defenses that we've seen all time relative to league standards, of course. So, and I think a large part of that has been Jalen Williams, who I think we'll talk about a little bit later in the most improved section. But having that type of defense this year, adding a guy like Hartenstein who could be that bruiser in the paint, even when you're missing Chet, you're still able to get some of that offense from Jalen Williams, from Shea, and from other guys as Casey Wallace has kind of come into his own. Aaron Wiggins as well has been another guy who's been able to provide a little bit of lift, and you still have Dort. So I think with all those guys there, having another year under their belt, knowing what they are as a team, I think putting it together against the Mavs should be something that should be interesting to watch. Who Mavs for themselves have been 10-1 in their last 11. So they're on an extremely hot streak as well, running into a team that is extremely great defensively, which would, I think, also provides a great matchup. Like, I think this NBA Cup has gotten us some really good matchups to start off this knockout round.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think we're looking at 4 great games. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on a lot of what you said about Oklahoma and why they'll win. The Mavs will be kind of like a sneaky tough, like, matchup for them as well. You also have the great narrative of like Luka versus Shea in this game.
Yeah.
2 jumbo guards who could be MVPs. This one's got it all. Like these are going to be 4 standout games.
Yeah.
That we've kind of like stumbled our way into. So we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we lucked out with this because some of those stages didn't pan out as we wanted to. But I think when we get to the knockout round, everything's looking like it should be a lot of fun basketball. staying on that game though with OKC and the Mavs, the Hartenstein angle I think is going to be an interesting one because that was an area where they got kind of bullied in the playoffs last year, where Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford were able to kind of punish Chet, who was just there by himself. You're not going to punish Hartenstein that same way. He had like 18 boards the other night.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. He's going to bruise. He's going to make sure he's going to bump. He's going to make sure that his presence is felt. Rebounding wise. So it'll be nice. It'll be interesting to track that as well from this game to see how that has progressed for them. I know
Well,
on the offensive, yeah.
You mentioned it being a rematch of last year's conference finals, and if you look at the two teams and which one's like changed the most since that time, I would suggest that it was Oklahoma. They've added Hartenstein, they've added Alex Caruso, both to the starting lineup. So like, it's not crazy when you like examine why Oklahoma is like such a historic defense right now. Like, this is by design. Like, they went out and they tried to do this offseason, and like right now it's working, right? And it's looking really good. So just kudos to Oklahoma. It's going to be different than last year, and we'll have to see how Dallas reacts.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the main thing. But at the end of the day, they still got Luka Doncic over there, who just
and
makes
Kyrie
things happen.
Irving,
and Kyrie Irving, who can do some crazy things on that basketball court too. So, should be an extremely fun game over there. And then we have our last matchup with the Warriors versus the Rockets, which we can kind of signal a change of the guard maybe here if it goes the way that I have it going, with Rockets beating the Warriors. Mainly going that way because the Warriors have been in a bit of a rut lately. They've lost about 5 in a row. So they've been doing some soul searching. Draymond got a little dinged up the last game, so we don't know what his status will be when this takes place. But yeah, the Warriors not looking as strong as they were earlier on in the season. Still a formidable opponent, but it'll be interesting to see if Houston's able to kind of take the reins here and take that next step and get themselves a win in the first round in the knockout stage.
Yeah, it will be. I think it would be really great for Houston if they did. I think when you say like changing of the guard, that's probably the most appropriate. Like, the one thing you can say about Golden State is that they're a rise to the occasion team. Yeah. Like, that core has certainly proven that. So even though they've like not been great leading into this game, I don't think that's going to weigh on them too much. I think they can forget that, move on, and try and play their best game that day.
Yeah,
I would like to see Houston win it just for the growth and the development. But honestly, like, would I be surprised if Golden State pulled this off? No, not at all. I'd be like, oh yeah, this completely tracks. So
yeah. All it takes is a crazy Steph performance, and then you're basically in any game. The other thing notable about them is this is two teams that have top 5 defenses right now. So Golden State sitting at 4, and Houston sitting at 3. So this could just end up being a slog on the defensive end from both teams. We'll see who it affects more. Like, at the moment, it looks like it would affect Golden State more. In the last 2 weeks, they're like 24th in offense. They're really doing, like, Steph has to do a lot of heavy lifting on the offensive end to kind of make them good on that side. So this might be one of our few. So we on the Eastern Conference side, we have that offensive battle with the Knicks and Hawks. And then I think on the West side, we have a defensive battle with Houston and the Warriors, which is kind of maybe you'd say the opposite usually of the conferences. Usually the Western Conference is the conference that has all the fun, exciting, fast-paced games, but I think we might get that on the East, at least for those matchups.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, you've got 3 and 4 defense in the one game. You've got the number 1 defense.
Yeah.
And
in the other game,
what's Dallas? Like, they've got to be half decent at least to be up there, right? Defense wins championships,
Yeah,
everybody.
they're top 10.
Yeah. So that's gonna explain to you probably in the best terms why the Western Conference is so much better than the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. Defense defense
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking.
Uh,
Defense matters. Um yeah, I think when we move on from there, we head into the next stage. So if we're gonna go and continue kind of predicting this out, um, so I had OKC being the Mavs, and then I have OKC facing the Rockets, and then falling, and then beating the Rockets, coming and being the team to come out of the West. Um, anything there, or do you think this is pretty?
so I think I'm right with you on the West, like all the way. Like I think I think you're right that the Thunder and that the Rockets will match up, and that the Thunder will show that the Rockets that, hey, you're still behind the timeline, like we're further ahead than you. Um, you know, nice showing, but you got a ways to go. Keep building, kid.
Mhm.
On the East though, like the East, I'm like completely flipped from you.
No, that's
Yeah,
good. So you
yeah,
you would have it as we already know you have the Hawks going all the way to the end there.
yeah. I have
Um and you have
Hawks,
the Bucks
Bucks.
beating the Magic.
Yeah,
Hawks Bucks, yeah, Hawks Bucks in the semifinals, and then Hawks beating the Bucks.
Hawks beating the Bucks, and then Hawks upsetting the
Mm.
Thunder.
That would be quite the tournament. That would
That'd
be
be
quite the
wild,
tournament.
right? It'd be
That'd
all
be
about storylines.
yeah. I think when I'm looking at this now, I would probably flip. I think I'd have Magic kind of beating the Knicks. It'll be that same thing, that defense versus offensive struggle that we're looking at right now. And I think I kind of trust the Magic to just be more of that physical team that wants to get it done on that
Mm-hmm.
side of the court. The offense though is really painful at times for the Magic, especially with the lack of Paulo. But if they could just get just enough to beat the Knicks, that might be a thing. But I picked the Knicks, so I'm gonna roll with them for now until the
Love it.
finals.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anything else on the NBA Cup before we move on to the most improved players
No, just that it's great. And do we need to add like a second half NBA Cup?
for the consolation tier?
No, just like one in the second half of the season.
Oh, just a different cup, like Cup One,
Yeah.
Cup Two. Might as well. There's really not much else going
Eh,
on in the NBA during these times, and it
The
gives good
NBA will just
markers.
turn into a series of bowl games.
Yeah, just a bunch of
Yeah.
just be a European soccer league. Um, no, but I think it is a good marker for these teams. Like I think it is proven to be that. I think it will prove to be that. A lot of these teams that we see in this knockout stage are teams that have been playing the best basketball to start the year. Like a team like Houston, for example, I think is a good representation of just like where things are at in this early stage of the season. And I think they should be rewarded for that. I think teams that start off strongly should have a reward for that. I know Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson were joking about doing it for like the minimum wage guys, or Josh Hart not doing it for the minimum wage guys. But I think there is something to the effect of being able to give cash incentive to some of the guys who don't make as much as the top players. I think that has worked. They care about money. Even the top guys care about getting a little extra money. So I think it's kudos on the NBA for introducing this and it being, I think, pretty successful. Now, if they could just change some of the courts, just some.
Well, they're
I
gonna
love
change every year,
some of
right?
them.
Like
Yeah,
some of them are always gonna be bad.
yeah.
Um,
Just the nature of the game.
yeah, and it's like, like the Raptors court isn't great, but it's
The
not
city
bad,
course.
but their city court is amazing,
Yeah,
right?
sweet.
Like
Super sweet.
so the thing about once the cup ends is that more city courts will come out more frequently,
Yeah,
and
we'll see more and more of
I'll
that.
get to see that sweet Raptors court.
Yes, we need to see more of that Raptors court. It's a shame they didn't have it on retirement day, but that's neither here no there nor there. Most improved players. This one's a bit tricky at times, but I think we have a pretty good feel to like at least talk about early on in the season. Any players just off the top that stand out to you that you would like to talk about for most improved?
I would say like probably like Franz Wagner, Dyson Daniels. Um, you can do some like you could do a second round jump like a Grady Dick. You could talk about like Norm Powell. Norm Powell's been amazing this year. Uh, where do you rank like superstar improvement? So like
Right.
Nikolai Jokic is having the best year of his career, which is crazy because he has 3 MVPs and is going to win a fourth.
Oh my
But
goodness.
he's playing
Okay.
better than ever. So most improved is a really kind of interesting award like that. A lot of it comes down to like the national narrative at the end of the day, but we'll see where the narrative goes. Like, if you get the right people backing you, yeah, maybe a Nikolai Jokic is the most improved, even though he's probably the most unlikely player.
Yeah. No, those are some good ones to bring up. I think even to add on to the superstar jump there, like I'm looking at some of these betting odds here for most improved player, and LaMelo's third. LaMelo Ball is third there. And that's basically that superstar, that all-star he hasn't been. I don't think he's been an all-star yet. So that would
I
be
don't think
that
so. Yeah,
all-star
it would be
slash
big jump for
jump.
LaMelo.
Yeah, for him. I think one of the things there is health, which he's missing some games right now again for. But he started off the year extremely well too, scoring the ball in an unreal level, keeping Charlotte into like pretty decent like playing contention in the East. And that's basically based off of his play and probably Brandon Miller's as well, which maybe you could throw some shots too for most improved as well. Some of the players that you mentioned though, like Franz Wagner. So I think we could break this into like a tier of players making that like first time all-star jump. So I think a couple of those players who I would have at least in my like all most improved considerations would be Franz Wagner, as you mentioned, Jalen Williams from OKC, and Tyler Hero, as just 3 players who I think could make the jump into becoming first time all-stars this year, just based on how they played.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. Each of those guys have made an improvement. I think that Tyler Hero and Franz Wagner are a little bit more in your face improvement, because here's the thing, like this is one of those challenges, is that Jalen Williams was already a star last year. He wasn't an all-star according to the voters, but he was a star. So his improvements, even though they're like both two-way, like he's a little bit better defensively this year, like he's moved up with the team, as well as being better offensively. Like it's a little less noticed than like, Tyler Hero just kind of taking over being the primary scorer in like Miami, or Franz Wagner absolutely making the most of an opportunity to lead a team.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. Like, just looking at the counting stats, at least for Jalen Williams, like it's not a huge jump. Like you're going up like 2 points. The biggest jump there you're going up is 1 steal. You're going up half an assist, but each one of those like incremental improvements, I think, has pushed him into like this, because we're always looking at for Shea, who's going to be the star next to him. Is it going to be Chet? Is it going to be Jalen Williams? Who's going to be his true running mate? At least on both ends of the court. And I think Jalen Williams, in this time period that Chet has been out, has anchored the defense for OKC. They have him playing center. They have him playing power forward. They have him playing all types of positions. He's leading the league in steals, or if not leading the league in steals, he's in the top 5 in steals. He's up there with blocks. I think he's averaging about a block a game. Yeah, just under a block a game right now. he's becoming a consistent hub offensively for OKC as well. So when Shea's not taking the reins, a lot of times now it seems to be Jalen Williams is able to carry the offensive load. I think all of those, like as you mentioned, like incremental little things, shooting more threes, even like he's shooting 5 compared to 3 last year. So like just shooting more, still staying efficient on those shots. And being a reliable force on the offensive end as well as being the anchor in the defensive end, I think is one of those improvements that might not, like you say, might not catch the eye right away, but have been huge to OKC's success this year, at least this early in the year, to keep them at the top team in the West right now. And then we move on to like Franz Wagner. So for Jalen Williams, I think he should probably get a nod for All-Star. Like OKC should probably get 2 for how they've been playing, and I think Jalen will be that guy since Chet has been hurt.
He's been injured,
so it's just unfortunate there. But Franz, on the other hand, for the Magic, I think as well has a strong case to make it into the All-Star team this year, as he's just been, like you said, just carrying the offensive end for the Magic, and as well continuing their defensive identity on the wing there. So I think Franz has been also a tremendous player. We talked about him a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to get too lost in the sauce with him, but like he's been someone who has been very impressed as well, and has been taking that leap into that All-Star, I think, territory as well. Whether he'll get there or not, I think the Magic as well deserve one if they're going to finish in the top 5 come All-Star time. So if they are to get one, I think Paulo has just missed too many games at this point, so I think Franz deserves to be kind of their star there.
I would agree. It would be tough, so because like Paulo to me is now just like an unquestioned All-Star. So my only thing about Franz is like he's been kind of they've run kind of a heliocentric offense with Franz. Like they've really run it through him, and he's delivered, and it's been really, really impressive. And yes, I would suggest he is an All-Star. Absolutely. But I've been thinking about just like what a superstar is a lot lately. And for me, like a superstar, they're always going to get a little bit more usage just by being a primary option on a team kind of thing. But to me, like a superstar can put up like these numbers, like these 35s consistently, without taking anything away from the rest of the team, if not adding to the rest of the team. So they do it in this like efficient manner. Like I go back and I think of LeBron James as like a superstar and like the mold for a superstar. And every team that he's been on, yes, he has been like the primary option, but he's gotten his points, and it's never felt like when I would watch Kobe, sometimes I would think that like Kobe's getting his points at the expense of the rest of the team. Right. And I've never thought that about like LeBron. Maybe like 1 or 2 games he's played like 1,000 games. Like, probably 1 or 2 games. But you know, like I tend to think of him as this guy who just like fits inside an offense, makes an offense run, and puts up superstar numbers, right? Like, and that's what takes you from like all-star to superstar. You can be like a Kobe and just be like the best scorer in the league and be a superstar. But like, I've been thinking about what happens when Paulo returns, and when Paulo returns, like he becomes the primary option on the team again, and the offense is run through Paulo again. So the really interesting thing with Franz will be, does he remain a top scorer when he's the secondary option? Can he still get his numbers? Can he still do this without, you know, the entire offense running through him? Which like
that'll be the trick.
That'll be it.
I think that's going to be an interesting combo for the Magic to have once Paulo does come back. Like how they balance these two guys now, because you've now have a guy who's efficiently led your offense, led the charge for your team on both ends of the court for weeks now. And when we look at his numbers, like for the season, he's up to 24 a game, which is up from 19 last year. So he's about 5 points more. Um, for 5.5 rebounds, about 6 assists, which is up from 3.7 last year. So that's a noticeable change as well. But that also comes with like you said, they just straight usage, just having the ball more. You're gonna get a little more assists. Interesting though, he did play around the same amount of minutes. Steals have been up a little bit as well. So all those things have been great, and I think, as I said, warrants him to be considered to be in the All-Star conversation. How that fits with Paulo, I think, is a very valid question and one that we need to be asking when he comes back, because Franz is a good shooter. Like he does shoot the ball well, but he's not like he's not like a lights out shooter. Like he's a
No, he's
solid
not
shooter.
prolific. Yeah.
No, he's just good. He's just a good shooter who will take them and make you kind of play him honestly, but he's not spacing the floor like, say, like a Laurie Markkinen would. So I think that is an interesting combo to have. Like, do you want him to have the ball more in his hands and let Paulo be more of the spacer? Do you want Paulo to operate in his comfort zone in like that mid high post area and Franz be the spacer and be dealing with more secondary playmaking duties? I think that'll be something interesting to watch when Paulo does come back, because they're gonna have to make that work. I think it can work. I think Franz is selfless enough to make that happen. But how it happens will be one to watch.
And we'll see whether or not he's an all-star or a superstar.
Yeah, we'll see the difference there. And then the last guy in that tier, I think, Tyler Hero. So
Prolific
right now,
shooter.
prolific shooter. Yeah, then we talk about shooters. Yeah, here is one. The main thing with Tyler Hero is like he's in his 6th season. So again, a lot of these guys, like we're getting a little bit away from the traditional second, third year guy who's just gotten better based on you're supposed to kind of get better. I feel like a lot of these guys have just made different changes in their games to boost them to another level and bring their standings up within the NBA. So with Tyler Hero, I think that comes with his shot diet. Like the thing about him for I guess many of the years is that he'll get his points, but they'll come a little bit it would come at a bit of an inefficient rate. And this year he's made a conscious effort to kind of tidy that completely up. Like just looking at his shot diet, his shot chart from right now, comparing it to last year, he's taking only 8% of his shots from the long mid range, which last year he shot 85% of his shots from there. So just taking that completely out of his game and transferring it to the rim, where he's shooting 22% of his shots. Last year he only shot 13% of his shots at the rim. This year he's at 22%. So I think transferring those long mid range from there, pushing it into some of them into the short, into the rim, and then spreading it out to the 3-point line has been really beneficial for his efficiency and it's for his offensive game this year. And I think with the type of efficiency that he's having and being a top scorer on the top scorer on the Miami Heat right now, who are flirting with the playoff position as we record this, usually warrants a playoff, not a playoff, an all-star appearance, if Miami is so lucky to get one. I think if there was a player to get one from the Heat, it would be Tyler Hero. I think it would be based off of the efficiency he's been shooting at and just the overall change that he's made to his game. Because again, 6 years in, it's hard to make these type of changes. You've kind of stuck in your ways at this point. He's gotten so comfortable with the mid-range shot that if you could see it like year after year, 85% from long mid-range, 76% the year before, 78% the year before that, 92 the year before that. So that has been something that's been a staple in this game, and to just take it away for the betterment of the team and as well as his own personal efficiency needs some recognition.
You told me that stat before we came on air, and it's honestly it's mind blowing, but it's also like modern NBA, right? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of almost wild that it took to his 6th year to cut that shot out of his diet, right? Like, you know, and you see the result of it right away. Like, Tyler Hero was probably at his best going to be the third option on the team this year coming into the season, and with like a lot of questions of whether or not he would be traded this year. And he's been the best member on the Heat. Like, Bam has had a tough start to the year. He hasn't been the player that I think a lot of people around the league thought he would be, and a lot of Heat fans certainly hoped he would be. And then Jimmy seems to just be like, hey, they called how many games I play into question, so I'm gonna play all the games, but I'm also gonna just be like smart about it, and like,
yeah.
you know, like I'm not going for 40 every night. Right?
Yeah. You'll know when I'm really here.
Yeah,
Type of
I'm
games.
gonna be on the court, but you'll know when I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at Tyler Hero's rise in efficiency. So from last year's true shooting percentage was 55.8%. This year is up to 62%. 55 would have been like below league average, and now he's above league average. And that's like a significant jump just from his point of view in particular, where he's been hovering around 55 his entire career. And to just jump 7 percentage spots up in true shooting percentage is very, very notable, and a testament to him just putting the work in to make that a change in this game.
No, and it's been it's almost questionable to say whether or not skills wise Tyler Hero has become a better player, but certainly like results wise, he has. So like really impressive, good for Tyler. Happy for Heat fans.
Yeah, that's the one of the few positives they have this year is Tyler Hero's play. I also want to bring in some other guys who were kind of lower down in the betting odds there for most improved player, but I think like a guy like Norman Powell is a bit of a strange wild card that I think can be thrown into that mix there. I know he again later in his career, so you generally don't give this award to someone like this. But the jump and just points and maintaining the type of efficiency that he's had, he's up to 23.9 points a game this season, which is 13 last season. The most he ever averaged was I think 19 before this, and certainly not recently. So to have this type of jump this late in your career, I know you got to take on a role of Kawhi being out, so he gets to be the focal point on offense next to James Harden, who's great at distributing the ball and finding guys in the right spots. But even so, just to be able to gain basically 10 points per game in one season is pretty impressive stuff from Norman Powell, the former Raptor.
So I saw a stat just last week that Norman Powell, if I'm not mistaken, has had the highest year-over-year points jump of anybody in the NBA, followed by Grady Dick by like 0.1 points, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so like Norman Powell, like it was so strange when he was on the Raptors, because it was very obvious that he was like a better player when he started. Like he would score much better with much more efficiency. He just looked better with the starters. But he was always like a little bit of the weak link on defense for whatever reason. Maybe he's cleaned up a lot of the tendencies since he's been a Clipper, but that would be the thing. And the Raptors would always go, oh, you know, like Norman Powell, like what an ideal 6-man. And then they would put him back in that role and he just wouldn't perform the same. And I think the Clippers did the same thing, where they were like, they got him and they were like, oh man, you look at this guy and he is like such an ideal 6-man, but it just doesn't seem to work out. Almost won it the 1 year. Yes. Didn't work out though, right? Like still the bridesmaid. And even like the national media right now is clamoring for Kawhi to come back so that Norman Powell can win the 6-man of the year award.
Yes, you can go back to his natural spot as being that 6-man.
But he's better as a starter.
He's better as a starter. Like this is he's shooting 50% from 3, like on 8 threes. Like it's not like he's shooting low volume. Like Jason Capono back in the day shooting like three threes a game and hitting 1.5. No, he's shooting 8 threes and about 50% of them. And we're like, he's 17 games into his season. Like that is truthfully some crazy stuff. And you talk about his defense. I mean, steals aren't everything, but he's up to 1.1 a game. Last year he was at 0.5 a game. So that jump as well. Like he's doing these things, I mean, you get more minutes, you get to be a starter, your counting stats are going to go up. But still, you have to put in the work to make it go up. And his efficiency somehow has risen from last year as well, 65.9% true shooting percentage. So it's not like it's coming at detrimental to his game at all. He's been able to maintain his efficiency, improve it slightly, and improve all his counting stats. So I think a guy well worthy of that most improved title as well. I think last one we kind of touched on like the Hawks guys when we talked about the NBA Cup, but Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, like those guys have been terrific this year. I think Jalen Johnson was in the running last year and missed out because of injury, but I think he just kind of continued to progress as I think most people thought he would in the role that he's been in. And Dyson Daniels has just been kind of a nice story, being traded over from DeJounte Murray, being one of the top steals guys in the NBA at the moment, and just doing all the little things like mentioned earlier, kind of like a Derek White type player, has been really good for the Hawks. I think a really good piece to add into their future. As my AirPod case smashes to the floor. But the last guy I kind of want to just touch on is Christian Braun from the Nuggets, because he had to fill into a role where they've lost a lot of role players who they relied upon over the years over in Denver. And he has been one of the guys who stepped up, became a starter for most of the time, and has really flourished in that role. So I think he also deserves a mention for most improved player there, taking on a new role.
One thing I got to give to Christian was he was a guy that I always thought was a shooter. And still, like, when I immediately think of him, I still think of like, oh, he'll be in the lineup because he can shoot the 3-ball. But really, he's a great cutter.
Yeah, really good off the ball guy.
Yeah, he's really done well. Because I think even like when they lost KCP, I think even the Nuggets were hoping that like Christian's shooting would really kind of like come out this year. And it hasn't, but he's really found a way to be effective and stay in the starting lineup, not only just stay in it, but thrive in it. So like he probably won't win it, but he deserves a lot of kudos for what he's done this year. So like, you know, I know he's listening to this podcast. And it's really kind that you brought it up.
Yes, this will do great for his confidence, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, building off of that, like, yeah, he's basically doubled his points from last year. The 3-point shooting, he doesn't shoot a lot. So like he's at 46% right now, but like he takes about 2.5 a game, and you're not really looking for him to shoot. And you're kind of okay with him shooting as well. Like his free throws, one major improvement has been his free throw shooting. It is up to like 77% from which was 69 last year. So that's a pretty major improvement, but it also just comes from more attempts as well. Like you get more attempts, you're gonna get closer to where you probably should be as a free throw shooter. But I think these are all just really positive things. He's always shown flashes in the past of just being a utility guy that can do it all for you on the offensive end or on the defensive end. It really gives it his all. He plays hard, plays the right way, tries to make the right passes and take the right shots. So seeing that develop and seeing that become more into a starter role has been good. And I think will at least carve out a role for himself, no matter what happens in his career, as one of these, I think, top end role players that can make a difference in a championship type team.
Absolutely, and he's got a great one to learn from with Aaron Gordon being there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah. I think that's a good one for him to work off of. Anyone else or anything else before we head out of here?
Not really. Just we're it feels like we're in the dog days already. Like the NBA could use, like, it's really good that the Cup's here, but they could use like a really fun trade right about now.
We are starting to get some of those rumors shaking about. So.
We're getting rumors, but it's like minor, right?
Yeah,
well,
light ones.
You know, the crazy rumor right now is somehow San Antonio acquires Giannis, but it's like, why would Milwaukee break things up right now?
They're not doing anything until the offseason. And even then, who knows? So yeah, they'll try to keep Giannis forever. So
yeah,
as they should.
Yeah,
as they should.
Point well made. Yes. Yeah.
but yeah, we'll track all the little trade nuggets, maybe a little bit more next week. Maybe some more pop up. We could dive into some that have already popped up, as minor as they may be, as major as they could be. We will all get to see what is real, what is not, as it comes later. But I think that's it. I think that's it for this episode. So thank y'all for hanging out for us. Presented by Playbook Sports. This is the NBA Hangout. I'm Brandon. You can follow me at BJAY93_. You can follow the NBA Hangout at the NBA Hangout on Twitter X. You can follow Dave here every week. Like and subscribe. You can find us on YouTube. All that fun stuff. Thank y'all.
When are we getting a blue sky?
We're working on the blue sky. I'm on blue sky. I'm there. The podcast ain't there yet. Playbook is there, so you can find some of the playbook sports stuff over there, which will have some of our stuff. So we are there in spirit. We're in the sky in spirit. All right, thank you for hanging out with us. Peace.